What's up, team? We're back. Sports betting is live in New York. Sports betting is live almost everywhere. If it's not at your place yet, it's going to be soon. Most of these states are legalizing it. If you're across the pond, you probably had it already and you make fun of us Americans for everything else. I want to give you guys some tips and tricks for how to handle all the things at your disposal now. There's so many more options. There's so many more sites to go to. There's boosts. There's parlays. There's deposit bonuses. You don't have to deal with bookies anymore. No shady stuff. Those sites stunk. You're having to deal with lines that aren't available. There's so many more things now. How do you not get overwhelmed? There's a lot of stuff. So while we hang out today, I want to give you guys 5 tips and tricks for how we can get through and avoid disaster. We don't even want to put that word out there. While we're hanging out, I want to point out Bob is also hanging out. If you were curious, that is Bob Ross. It's the real Bob Ross. I'm not going to take any further questions on that. Now let's dive right in. I have examples. We're going to use Caesars and FanDuel for the most part to talk about exactly what I mean and show you guys a few examples. So here we go. First tip is about boosts. Now you're going to see these all over the place, and they're great. It's the first thing on Caesars' website. It's the first thing on a lot of them, and they're going to be all over the promotions tab. Be careful not to just take everything. Caesars, for some of them, will give you what it was compared to what it is now. So this one shows you that it was plus 368. Now it's plus 400. If you weren't going to take it at plus 368, you probably aren't going to take it at plus 400. You still need to like the thing that you're betting. It doesn't always give you that information, though. So the first thing you need to do is plug it in and see what kind of odds you are going to get, right? So if you go to this Warriors game, Warriors win and Klay Thompson over 19.5 points. It's now at plus 400, right? So if we dive into the Warriors game and we take Warriors to win, and then let's see where we are. Player props. Klay Thompson total points, it has it at 14.5, right? And you might be able to adjust those. But let's just plug in the 14.5 just to see what that is, because it's easier to hit, right? You got to think about that too. So if you put Klay in at 14.5, you're getting plus 230. Is that easier to swallow? Is it worth going up to plus 400 where we had it before? Probably. It depends what the odds would be for 14.5 compared to 19.5, but the point stands. I'm not going to go through all the permutations of it. The point here is look at what the odds are supposed to be, because you don't know how much they're being boosted all the time. So to me, there are scenarios where I might take the 14.5 instead of the 19.5 these are severely reduced odds. That one seems to be good, plus 400. The other ones aren't always as good. We saw it on the homepage, plus 368 compared to plus 400. It's like, if you like the Warriors, Pelicans, and Bulls, then you probably would have liked them anyway. I don't know if the extra sliver of odds is really going to help you on this one. So make sure you're always doing your own research and not just taking into account, oh, wow, these odds are gigantic. They might have been gigantic anyway. If you see a plus 1,000, plug it in. If it's plus 900 normally and they're boosting it to 1,000, maybe you might not want to do it if you didn't want to do it in the first place. So check out boosts. That's my first tip. Second tip, this one's a little more weird, and it's a little more recent, and if you're watching this video way in the future, thank you, and this may not apply. But for future bets, we'll look at football. I don't think it's worth doing future-style bets during COVID. It's hard enough to even bet these games days in advance with COVID, right? And if you go to futures, you see the Packers plus 380 to win it all. That's great. But if Aaron Rodgers gets COVID, you're dead. There's no knowing. And it doesn't even have to be Rodgers. It could just be key team members. There's so much unknown here unless you're tracking each individual player's COVID status and when they had it and they don't need to be tested again, etc., I don't know if it's ever going to be worth doing futures for the foreseeable future, pun not intended, until we have a handle on this COVID situation. Because there's just way too much unknown, and the odds, if you want to take them and you're really gung-ho, go for real long shots. It's much better. You have to lay down less to make more. And if one of the favorites goes down because of COVID issues or even injury, that is always factored in. But COVID is really, really making it difficult to do any futures for me and to put accurate odds on it because you don't know who's going to play. You really don't. So take long shots if you really want them. Avoid taking future favorites. I just think it's a little bit too dicey, and the fear of the unknown is really tough. I've been saying on the Friday football shows, which you guys should join for, we'll break down all the games and we'll do it again this Friday for playoffs, that I don't even like to put in these bets before kickoff, really, if I don't have to, unless I see a line that I absolutely love. So there's exceptions to every rule, but my general sense for now, for the next few months until this thing shakes out, is to avoid futures, especially favorites, until COVID is done. Third tip, let's talk about live betting. There's so many more live opportunities now that these legal books are available. There's a million different markets. You can look everywhere. There's a ton of different stuff. Brazilian basketball. They have everything, right? For live bets, even if you think you have a stranglehold on what the game is going to be and how it's going to go, make sure you have some patience, you be fearless, and you be odds-driven. And what I mean by that is, if you liked USC going into the game, and for some reason you didn't get the bet in, time ran out, you got stuck at work, whatever happens, whatever people do, there's still always the opportunity for you to bet it. But I think it's important to stick with your gut, who you liked in the first place, and not panic and change sides, right? That is never good, to bet both sides of a thing unless the odds are really smacking you in the face, of course. But even if they go down early, let's say you loved USC in this game, and they're down 10-0, and all of a sudden you're panicking and you're like, I'm not going to do it. What I mean by be fearless and be odds-driven is 10 minutes ago you were ready to do it at these odds. Now, the teams haven't changed unless you've seen an injury or something that is really changing the scope of the strategy for these two teams. You should now definitely hammer USC because you're getting way better odds than you were before. Look at it like football. If you're ready to take the Chiefs against the Steelers and you're ready to lay the 11.5 or whatever that line is now, and the Steelers come out and score first, that should be a good thing for you. Don't look at it as scaring you away from the live bet. That's when you should go into the live bet and say, I liked the Chiefs. I liked them because they were going to score a lot. I still think they're going to score a lot. Maybe they haven't even gotten the ball yet, so I haven't been proven wrong yet. And now the odds have just boosted insanely in your favor. You can get it basically as an odds boost without it being boosted because you've only seen one possession or two. Now, if you're in the third quarter and things have changed, maybe take it a little differently. But there is a way to take advantage of these live betting opportunities, especially early in games. So be patient. You don't have to put in every bet before the tip-off or the kickoff or the first pitch, but there's always more opportunity, and you got to be really careful. You can go down a real rabbit hole with live betting if you don't keep your strategy consistent from the get-go. And only switch sides if you're seeing something different than what you expected going into the game. But if it's pretty much going how you expected it and the scoreboard just isn't reading in your favor at that moment, to me, that's a good thing, and that's when you should pounce. So that's third. Fourth tip, avoid things you probably don't know about to begin with. There are so many markets, and it's really fun and cool to look at. I get it. I really do get it. You look at the cricket odds, and you're like, oh my God, there's no cricket bets. That's what you say. And then you go to rugby, whatever any of these bets are. Here we go. Rugby Union. Rugby's a great sport, by the way. I saw it at Soldier Field I saw the New Zealand All Blacks against the United States, and it was really unbelievable. I don't know why it hasn't taken off here in the U.S., but rugby rocks. Anyway, if you're not a rugby fan, just because it's here and it's playing at 9:15 in the morning and you want to get a bet in to start your day to get the juices flowing, I get it. Sometimes you can throw in a little $10 sprinkle here and there to keep you going. But don't get crazy just because it's there. More options are good, but they can definitely be overwhelming. It doesn't mean you need to hammer things that you don't know about just because they're on the website, right? There's someone out there who's a huge rugby fan. This is the spot for them. Let them deal with that. Stay in your lane. Have fun with it if you want to, but don't go crazy just because you think that there's this new bet that you want to learn about the sport or something like that. It takes years and years and hours of effort for people who are consistently good at sports betting to nail down which markets they want to bet and which games they want to bet and which way they want to bet them. Even on a week-to-week basis for people that have been doing this for a long time. You're not going to just jump into a new sport and randomly be profitable in the long term. Everybody knows this. But now, since it is just launching in a lot of different places, there's a lot of temptation, even for more reasonable sports like tennis, for example. You know, you look at any of these bets and you're like, oh, these seem like good odds for a person I've heard of. Just stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Now, here's a really important one. 5th tip. It's my favorite one. And it's also related to a pick that I've made for tonight. So if you're watching this immediately, thank you. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. It helps the algorithm. Leave a comment. Do all that good stuff. We'll talk about it on Friday. But if you're doing these same game parlays, which FanDuel is famous for and now all the books are pretty much doing, make sure you're coordinating them based on the expected game script of how you think this game is going to go. We'll take basketball, for example, because I have a pick in there already for tonight that I really enjoy, and then we'll do a football example too. In basketball, I did this Pistons-Bulls game. I know the Pistons really struggle defending the perimeter and allowing penetrative dribblers into the heart of their defense. Cade Cunningham's a good big guard. He can't guard everybody. They don't have the bigs down low to really protect the rim very much. They're going to get diced up if someone can penetrate the defense, and they're going to do it, right? So what I thought was take DeRozan over 4.5 assists, which is available here somewhere. And then also, here you go, right? So minus 124, DeMar DeRozan assists. I like that. He's their de facto point guard. It works. Levine passes less. Lonzo is not as much of a facilitator because he doesn't have the ball as much as DeRozan does this year, et cetera, et cetera. So this is how I think the game is going to go. DeMar is going to have the ball a lot. They're going to penetrate. What is going to happen if he hits that, right? If he gets over 4.5 assists, Zach LaVine is going to end up filling it up. He's going to be on the receiving end of some of those passes. If DeRozan can get into the teeth of the defense, kick it out to LaVine for shots, it's going to coordinate and synergize really nice. So if you take DeRozan over 4.5 assists, and then you go to player points, and you see LaVine at 24.5, that synergizes a lot better than taking DeRozan over 24.5 with the DeRozan assists, because on any given play, he can't do it both. Some of the times that will work if you really think a player is a matchup nightmare. But for this scenario, I really think it's nice to be able to take LaVine's over and DeRozan's over on assists, and then you get plus 210 out of that. That's really nice for a thing that you think both are going to happen in a given game if they're going to win the game, which you think they're going to. And then if you think that there's going to be that much success, throw in Bulls money line, sweeten it a little bit. Or if you really want to, you can throw in the spread and get really wild, because if you think that the game script is going to go the way of DeRozan penetrating, kicking to LaVine, scoring over and over, rinse, repeat, then you also probably think the Bulls are going to do pretty well. So there's a lot of different examples like this. Let's take a football one. Let's go back to the homepage, go football, and let's find a good example. Let's say Bills-Pats, right? If you think this is going to be, let's say, bad weather, And let's say you think that they're not going to throw it that much. They're going to be running the ball a lot. You can do a couple things. First of all, you can take the under. That seems to make sense. Then you could go to passing props. If you think the under is going to hit and you think it's going to be bad weather, maybe you take Josh Allen's under on yardage. Maybe you also take Mac Jones under on yardage, right? Because you're buying into the way you think this game script is going to go. And if you're right, you're going to profit on all of these things and they will synergize perfectly. You can also, if you want to get really wild, and you can do different permutations of all this, you could take an over on a rushing prop. Now, I'm not the biggest Devin Singletary guy in the world. I would probably rather take one of the Patriots runners, but this is what's here. So you throw Singletary in on the over because you think they're going to have to run it. It's going to be a snowstorm. It's going to be windy. Neither of them are going to be able to throw. You take the unders on the throwing. You take the overs on the running. And you take the under in the whole game. And all of a sudden, you're at plus 780 for a situation where some people are saying, oh, it's going to snow really bad, so maybe that will favor the Patriots, and I'll take the Patriots. Like, okay. I mean, you can. And you can also throw the Patriots into this on the money line and then get it at plus 3809. Because you think that if the Patriots are going to win, this is how they're going to win. So make sure they're going to throw a lot of same-game parlays examples at you. They're going to have them on the homepage. All the different books are going to do it. And it's all well and good. And just because it's popular doesn't mean it's necessarily right. Because sometimes I'll log on there and see that they're having two people on the same team both have over for points or something like that in a basketball game. And you're like, well, that's a little bit weird unless you think that those two specifically are going to have a great matchup advantage and the role players aren't, because they're going to hurt each other as one scores and gets hot. The other one is probably not going to at the same time. So you really got to make sure that you're coordinating how you think this game script is going to go and profiting based off of that. This 5-way same game parlay, all of these things synergize. There's nothing here that wouldn't necessarily work. Under, Josh Allen passing under, Mac Jones passing under, Devin Singletary rushing over, and Patriots win because they're better in a sloppy, slow game. Take the boosted odds if you think you know how the game is going to go. That is the key. So it's a quick video today. Those are 5 tips that I think you can go with. There's a lot more. Maybe we'll do some more of these in the future as these books get more and more popular and offer more and more things. But do it responsibly, and more importantly, do it smart. Because there's money to be made here, and you can't just go in and click everything you think looks nice on first glance. First, think about how the game is going to go in your head, stick with your gut, and go with that. That's the advice. Good luck. Let me know how it goes. Follow me at MikeTheMush Sports. You'll see me ranting and raving about a lot of these different topics on a daily basis, putting some of my picks in there. On Fridays, we'll definitely do Football Friday again, coming towards the playoffs. And as we go into other seasons, the schedule might change a little bit. But what you can do is hit the notification bell on YouTube so that every time we do a new video, it pops up there. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, leave a comment, help the algorithm. We'll see you next time. Peace out.